me on the show today is a very special guest from Pakistan to England and then settling in America. Wajid has lived an interesting and varied life in many fields of endeavor. From a technical background as a field service engineer to stand-up comedian with over 20 years as a union actor doing voiceover, narration commercials, as well as TV and movie roles. He also encompasses over 40 years experience in the field of metaphysics, healing, spirituality, and new age concepts. An avid hiker, he managed to climb to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro in 2006, Africa's highest mountain in Tanzania. He is a humanitarian and an environmentalist, always looking for ways to improve life for people, along with a deep love for our planet and all the plants and animals who reside upon her back. As a qualified speaker, healer, and teacher, he can demonstrate how to reignite the spiritual flame within us and send it outwards to all, improving not only our personal lives, but those of every life stream that live on our beautiful world. Something he outlines in detail in his #1 bestseller on Amazon, The Struggle for World Sanity. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Wajid Hassan. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Kenny. Good to see you. Good to be on your show.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. How you doing, man? How you doing today?
Absolutely good.
That's
How about
that's good.
yourself?
I'm doing good, man. You know, I went out and did a little kayaking trip this morning. I was enjoying nature, and it was good. It was a great start to the day. Where do you kind of want to start out here? I'd kind of like you to maybe, for the people out there that don't know you, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, and you know, and take it from there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born in Pakistan, and my parents moved to England when I was 3 years old, and I lived in the north of England, near Manchester, till the age of 10. And then from there, I went to, my parents moved to London, went to high school in England. I had my formal education in England. Eventually um, made myself a career in the technical field as a field service engineer, worked for a company in England. Then I moved to the States and lived primarily in Los Angeles for about over 30 years, and now currently based in Raleigh, North Carolina. So that sums it up. So thanks for letting me be on your show, and have a good day.
Is that it? Oh man. So you reached out to me, and did you have a chance to see the UFO alien extraterrestrial video I did?
I didn't know. I'd love to see it.
Okay. Because you reached out to me and said that you had a personal encounter with extraterrestrials, and I want to get into that, but before we get into that a little bit, um, you know, in your bio, you have a very interesting bio. It seems like you've been all over the world. You've experienced a lot of different things. You climbed the highest mountain in Africa. What was that like, man? What was that?
Oh, that was just unbelievable, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. It was probably the hardest physical, mental feat I've ever done in my life. And it was just fascinating. Had a lot of mystical experiences climbing the mountain. Felt very close to God or the divine as I climbed up the mountain. Maybe because I couldn't breathe, and because of lack of oxygen, I don't know, but it just had some deep experiences up in the mountain. And the prophets of old and people, they all climb, they've all been climbing mountains, getting out in the wilderness and tuning in with themselves. I think it's important for your listeners in this, hustle and bustle of so-called civilization, to sometimes just get out into, like you did, into nature. And sometimes it's good to realign yourself with nature, and because we're all part of nature. So it took 5.5 days to get to the top because of the climate,
Wow.
adjusting to the altitude, and about a day and a half to come back down. So it was absolutely incredible experience. In the book, I have a link to a YouTube 10-minute YouTube slideshow presentation if any of your listeners want to see my journey on the mountain.
Absolutely.
I think they can just go to YouTube and type in Inner Circle Kilimanjaro 2006. So that's I think it's a very inspiring video that a few of the people who went up on the mountain with me created. So that was.
Heck yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out, and then now I'll add that link in the description of the video. What made you kind of want to get into that though? Were you just kind of feeling like overwhelmed with the world, and you just kind of needed like a spiritual vacation, kind of, or is that
Well,
what?
I joined a group of entrepreneurs and business people, and uh, people may have heard of Mark Victor Hansen. He was a co-creator of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, one of the
Okay,
most
yeah.
successful um, books sold on the planet. So I joined kind of his inner circle. So we went on a safari to Kenya, and then from there we climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And I guess it was a case of um, getting inspired, going to different places. I also believe that Mount Kilimanjaro is a holy mountain. People can go there. There's a lot of different holy mountains around the world where people can actually go there and charge themselves up, send power out to the world, which is really, as you can tell, with the state of the world it is as it is really kind of needed at this time. So it was a twofold experience. One just collaboration with like-minded people, and then getting inner satisfaction of actually getting to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, which is Africa's highest freestanding mountain. And the continent of Africa is just stunning. So if anybody wants to go on vacation, they should go to Africa. It's a great place to go.
I would love to go to Africa, and I'd love to climb that mountain myself. Um, so your book, The Struggle for World Sanity, it's good to know that I'm not the only one that feels like the world's going kind of insane, and that we've, seemed to getting away from our roots, our, ancestral practices and things like that. Could you talk about your book a little bit and, what your thoughts are on the state of the world and uh, you know, what direction you think that we should take. What steps can we be taking to kind of get back on track, in your opinion?
Yeah, Kenny, I'm totally on the ball with you in regards to your observations of the status quo of mankind right now. I think that's what prompted me to write the book, Struggle for World Sanity, last year. And it's very interesting that when it was published on Amazon, it it went straight to number one bestseller in the category of spirituality, mysticism, and also on UFOs. So, of course, it didn't stay there, but it gave me a good indication that there's a tremendous amount of interest in these subjects, which, again, the mainstream media doesn't really talk about too much. And so, avenues like your show and other shows give people the opportunity to understand what's really happening. And you're right. I mean, look at the world right now. We're going through a terrible pandemic, endless wars, an economic system that favors a minority of rich people that are becoming billionaires, and a lot of people in slave labor. We've got pollution. We've got political systems around the world that are just at each other's throats, and the list goes on. So the reason I wrote the book was to actually inspire your listeners and let you know that I'm here to let people know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that as foreseen by the yogi master that I follow, Dr. George King, that things are going to get better in the future. They may get worse before they get better, but um, coming back to my yogi master, Dr. George King, he was an Englishman that I found in England when I was 16. At that time, I was being raised as a Muslim. I had a formal Christian education in school, so I had two different philosophies, two different ideologies that I embraced. And then I found this yogi master who just blew my mind. And he was in his 20s. He was he was a section leader for the London Fire Brigade during the Nazi Blitz over England, and he was part of search and rescue missions, and it really affected him when he picked up bodies of little children. Why all this suffering? And so he went after the war. He got into uh, self-realization. He went into yoga practices, not only just hatha yoga, but breathing exercises, mantra, up to 8 to 10 hours a day on top of his normal job, which was a London cab driver. And he did that for 10 years till he reached a certain point where he could raise his consciousness to an extremely high level and achieve that elusive state, which people call nirvana or samadhi. Some people call it cosmic consciousness. And it was then when he received this highly elevated state that he was contacted by the beings who man these UFOs or spacecraft that we see in the skies.
That is absolutely wild. That is fantastic. So you say he's a yogi master, and what can you tell me what a yogi master is? Because I'm not 100% certain myself what a yogi master is.
Well, a yogi master is very unique in many ways because, uh, one book I would recommend is called The Autobiography of a Yogi. It's produced by the Self-Realization Fellowship. It was written by another great master by the name of Paramahansa Yogananda. And in there, he details a lot of what the yogi masters in India, some of their powers, and some of them can like levitate, they can go through walls, they have tremendous healing power. And so they achieve, they manage to raise that powerful, people have maybe heard of the power of Kundalini
Yes.
within man. So they can achieve full rise of consciousness of the Kundalini and have these tremendous powers, equal to like we hear about in fantasies of Superman and that kind of stuff, and they're kind of real like Superman in real life. And one thing that my yogi master could do is extremely psychic. He could look at your aura. Of course, we're spiritual beings in physical bodies, and we have an aura with psychic senses. He was able to look at auras and look at people's past lives, and then predict their present and future lives. So he actually looked at my aura once and validated a past life that I had visions of when I was a child. And so on a larger scale, a yogi master like that can also project out of his body, in his astral body. And, most of your listeners are probably open-minded enough to know that this planet is not just a piece of rock. It's a beautiful, living, breathing, living goddess. And she also has an aura, and he was able to project and read the aura of the planet, which in some Eastern terminology has been referred to as the Akashic records. And he could read in full fourth dimensional color sequence the complete history of the human race. So coming back to what you said, the status quo right now, your listeners are probably want to know, why are we in the position that we are in? And so Dr. King was able to see without any archaeology or without the cover up that the historians have put on in regard to the true history of mankind. And he published a book in the early 1960s called The Nine Freedoms, which I think you can also get on Amazon. And in there, he put down the complete true history of mankind, which again, your listeners have probably never heard of. But we have actually been on this planet for the last 18 million years. And I'll quickly go through the true history of mankind. And if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt and ask me. Um, but 18 million years ago, Dr. King said that we actually inhabited another planet in the solar system by the name of Maldek. Now, Maldek was in orbit between Jupiter and Mars, and he said it was a green, prosperous world. He says highly technical. He's much more scientifically technically than we are now. And he said that robots took care of all the menial tasks on Maldek. The people could control the weather. They had an abundance of food. And basically, we were living in utopia. And, the Bible talks about, the Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and the fall. Um, I mean, that's just a fairy story, but in reality, they were probably referring to the fall of Maldek, because what happened is that a number of scientists on Maldek, in their lust for greed and power, created an atomic bomb, which was 10,000 times more powerful than the bomb that was created on Earth, and they completely destroyed the planet Maldek. And all that's left of our home planet Maldek is now the asteroid belt. So we, again, this is a revelation that totally blew my mind, but we are all actually extraterrestrials. We're not from Earth. Our home planet was Maldek.
That my mind is just blown, that because I have heard that before. I've heard of Maldek. I've heard that our asteroid belt is, remnants of a planet, another planet that was in our solar system. And you mentioned the Bible, and you talk about the Bible and as an artifact that's analyzed by many as a, literal historical line of events. And I think the Bible's a lot of symbology. That's my personal belief with it. And, in Genesis 6, when they talk about the Genesis 6 giants coming down, I honestly believe that somehow ties into kind of what you're saying with the planet of Maldek. And also, I mean, I've heard of them crashing on the moon and that, then coming here. There's a lot of beliefs, and I don't want to call them conspiracy theories, really, but there's a lot of cases to be made for these events that we hear about in our historical artifacts like the Bible and you know hieroglyphics in the pyramids, things like that. But I find that so interesting, that you mentioned that we're from a different planet altogether, that we really are all extraterrestrials here. And I totally believe that, our history has absolutely been altered, and that we don't truly know our true history, you know.
Well, what the metaphysician or the yogi says today, the scientist generally finds out 200-300 years later, and these are not theories. These are actual events that actually, my master physically saw. And one thing in the early 50s and 60s, when he came up and spoke to the public, he said that he made a solemn vow before his creator that he would always speak the truth, because he said that if you want to seek the truth, you have to speak the truth. And it made in the 50s and 60s, it made him very, very unpopular when he was saying these things
I can
about
imagine.
extraterrestrials and about Maldek. People now, I think there's a change of consciousness. People are more open-minded now in the light of scientific knowledge,
Absolutely.
that this is a possibility, and even scientists are concurring that yes, that the asteroid belt was a planet that was actually exploding millions of years ago. Now, coming back to the explosion of Maldek, um, you know, as you know, when we die, we don't just disappear. There's other realms of existences that we go upon. I'm a firm believer in reincarnation, and the beings that contacted Dr. King want reincarnation to be reintroduced back into terrestrial education. But so we were all released on these different etheric planes, and so we had to reincarnate on another planet in order to continue our reincarnation experience cycle, in order to evolve. And so the planet Earth was approached by the higher beings, and she agreed on taking a tremendous amount of limitation and allowed us who were radionic mutants to come and incarnate upon planet Earth. And at that time, Dr. King said there was another race that was on Earth at that time by the name of Adamic man, and he kind of cared for these for us for a number of thousands of years till we got to the point where we could stand on our own 2 feet. And after a million years or so, the civilization of Lemuria rose. And again, Lemuria was much more scientifically and culturally advanced than we were. And Lemuria went down in an atomic war. And then thousands of years later, another civilization by the name of Atlantis arose. And again, that the disease struck, this lust for power and greed. And Dr. King said that there was two warring factions on Atlantis. One created a controllable atomic ray called Indra's dart, and another created an atomic bomb called the Brahma weapon, or the weapon of God. And down went Atlantis, and some of the ancient Hindu scripts, the Upanishads and the um, talk about vimanas or flying aircraft. They talk about beams of energy thrown at each other, and so they're probably referring to the wars that occurred on Atlantis, and the Earth flipped on her axis, and down fell the civilization of Atlantis under the water. Now, coming to modern times, just after World War I and II, which was one of the most terrible purges of humanity we've ever seen on this planet, what do we do again for the fourth time? We unleash the atom, and they started exploding atom and hydrogen bombs, and it was known by the cosmic forces, or we refer to them as cosmic masters, that the planet Earth was due to die because of this terrible release of atomic radiation, which was choking the planet and was ready to destroy mankind again. So it was very interesting that in the 50s and 60s, there was a tremendous amount of flying saucer sightings in the skies, and because the whole solar system was concerned about what was happening. And it was then that my master, Dr. George King, was actually contacted by these beings. And one of the things they talked about was the danger, again, of exploding hydrogen bombs. And if it wasn't for their scientific intervention, they actually absorbed a lot of the radiation that was released from these explosions. I think America exploded over 1,000, and Russia exploded similar over 1,000. And if it wasn't for their intervention, I wouldn't be speaking to you at this time. So we would be in some kind of barren radioactive holocaust. So
So are you saying that in World War II, when we unleashed the atom bomb, that extraterrestrials actually came and they actually kind of contained it a little bit to keep from the entire planet being destroyed?
exactly. So they saved
Really?
the planet and they saved humanity. And so it goes to show me that these people are not only scientifically advanced, but they're also, millions of years ahead of us, but they're also thousands, if not hundreds, if not millions of years ahead of us spiritually. So these are benign beings. They're not evil, abduction, conspiracy, things that we hear about, but they actually have observed us for the last 18 million years. And Dr. King he went into this deep somatic trance over 600 times and received over 600 transmissions from the space beings about things like the dangers of the hydrogen bomb, the need for to reintroduce reincarnation, and many, many other things. So again, I'm not here to convert any of your listeners or
No, absolutely not. No, we're
I'm
just having a conversation.
the reason I'm here is to express my ideology, and it's up to your listeners to do what I did, was do my research and make my own decision based on my own intuition. And so if people want to hear more about Dr. King and his organization, they can go to the website aetherius.org, aetherius.org. And so that's where we are right now. We're in a position where we can now create another atomic war, which we did three times already, or as the cosmic masters have said, we need to change now, um, because I believe right now that this is the beginning of the end of mankind as we know it, in a very positive way, not a negative way.
That's so interesting. So I have like a million things places I kind of want to go with that. Because it definitely seems like, we're reaching a bottleneck um with events. And at least from my perspective, it definitely seems like there is a massive exit the matrix awakening going on. I mean, there just seems to be like a massive need for truth and an awareness that there's, whatever group behind the curtain, behind the veil, pulling the strings. It seems like people are seeing that, people are exposed to that. And, we talk about UFOs, and it seems like there's a lot more UFO activity, in the skies. And, the question I would like to ask you, and maybe a lot of the listeners are wondering, is alien disclosure, or how close are we to extraterrestrial disclosure? Will it ever happen? Or are we just going to find out on an individual level slowly?
Well, what you said kind of gave me goosebumps because you're so on the ball with what's going on.
Thank
So I
you.
respect, I totally respect you for that, because it's true. There is a awakening, a spiritual renaissance that's occurring, and the question is, why is this occurring? Well, there's two factors behind it. First of all, astrologically speaking, the way the planets are aligned, we're now in what's called the Aquarian age. We're moving from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, and the Aquarian age is actually demanding a cooperation, service, love. It's demanding that we all come together now as a race. And so that's one aspect. Another aspect, which your listeners may not be aware, is that on July the 8th, 1964, the cosmic beings got together around planet Earth, and they put a tremendous amount of spiritual energy in her, um, which is now held in a state of suspension, in order that she can eventually rise in the heavens and go back to the evolutionary cycle of the goddess that she is. And so she had a choice at that time to actually release all these energies, which were being beneficial for her, but would have totally destroyed mankind. So instead, in compassion, she's slowly releasing these energies every year. And so what's happening now because of that is the vibrations of the spiritual vibrations have now been increased. And so what the cosmic masters are saying is that in order for us to stay on this planet, we have to raise our vibrations. We have to go back to, like you said, back to that natural, uh, back to the spiritual natural laws, not the religious laws, but the spiritual natural laws that we regressed from. And so, as far as disclosure is concerned, disclosure was given in 1954 when the cosmic masters actually contacted our master and had these. He was actually on the BBC in the 1950s, and he actually took a transmission in front of millions of people listening and watching, with an actual cosmic master speaking through him. He would raise his conscious mind and be tune into a beam of mental energy impulse that was being radiated from these higher beings, and he would then translate it through his larynx and being in English when it would come out in English. So as far as disclosure is concerned, they have said that they've, in my book, there's a quote from a cosmic master. They said that flying saucers are real. Flying saucers are friendly. Your government knows this. So the governments of the world know of the existence of the cosmic masters. They've even said that they've contacted the Vatican, and they've been rebuffed because, I don't know. There seems to be this red tape to say, to kind of brainwash the people that they don't exist. So now what they're doing through Dr. King and other agencies, they're coming to us, you, me, and the common person, and so their message is now for everybody to hear. And so they're here. They've never left. They've been around for millions of years, and like you say, there's been an increase as well. So they're not going away. I remember there was a quote on Time magazine a few years ago, and the headline at the front cover was, "Are we alone in the universe?" I mean, talk about insult to our intelligence. How dare the media, or NASA, dare tell us that there is no life on other planets? I think we're wising up. We're not the
For sure.
pawns that we used to be,
For
right?
sure. And when you say you talk about articles in the media and things like that, even NASA, okay, like I have a thing with NASA because it was started by a bunch of Nazis from Germany. I mean, they came over here and they started NASA with their rocket ship program. And I personally, I have a hard time believing that we even landed on the moon, that they actually sent somebody to the moon. There's a lot of I don't know, but how can we trust NASA, and how can we trust the news to give us the truth? We can't. So like you said, by focusing inward and unlocking our kundalini, raising our vibration, we're able to channel the message and the truth from the higher beings. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, what they're saying is it's time to raise our consciousness and send the light out, in order to raise the vibrations of this earth, in a peaceful way. Because wars, you know, dropping bombs and hatred have just caused more dropping bombs and hatred.
They
And it's
have?
time for it's time for us to change. Now, coming back to NASA, I mean, I believe that they did go to the moon, but talk about insult to intelligence. The astronauts that were on these Apollo missions, again, trained military, intelligent guys, talking about UFOs following them on the way to the moon, UFOs hovering over the moon, and all that was discredited. And even on CNN a few years ago, there was some retired military generals talked about UFOs coming to a nuclear facility in Colorado and sending beams of pink energy into the nuclear warheads and neutralizing them. And
Wow.
you'd think with a story like that, that the whole world would be in shock and want to know more about it. And then next thing you know, the media says, "Oh, Beyonce's coming with a new record," and everybody, following Beyonce with a new record. Nothing against Beyonce, but what's we have these weapons of mass distraction that are suppressing the truth. And now I think it's important that the truth be told. Now, coming back to this rubbish about there's no life on other planets. I agree with the scientists that places like Mars and Venus and Saturn and Jupiter probably if would not probably hold life on the physical plane. But as you know, even on this earth, the Hindu and Buddhist philosophies talk about different realms of existence. And Dr. King said on planet Earth, he said there's 4 realms below us called the low astral realms, and there's 6 levels above us called the higher mental planes. And he said when we die, we go through to these levels and come back. Now, how many of us actually know of the existence of these? Not many of us, unless we're very psychic and we can tune in as a medium to some people who have departed to these levels. But generally, most people are totally unaware of these invisible realms, but they exist on a different high vibrational sequence. And like I say, a yogi master, like my master, visited all these realms. And it's also true with the higher realms on the other planets. Now, he wrote a book called "You Are Responsible," where he talked about going to the projecting to the moon and to Mars and Venus and conversing with advanced civilizations on Mars and Venus. Now they don't live on the physical realms of Mars and Venus. They live probably on level 4 or 5 on the higher higher planes of existence. And he said you could actually go to Mars and live there for 200 years and not even know that an advanced civilization is there, unless they wanted to reveal themselves. So places like Saturn, Jupiter, and all the planets in the solar system are inhabited by advanced civilizations. And the fact that we can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. It's just like we can't see electricity, but we know what electricity does. And it's the same with, I mean, quantum physics now in their calculations have talked about parallel universes, other dimensions. So science is slowly opening up to the fact that that there are higher beings on different existences which we can't physically see. So
Like
uh,
we're currently we live in the three dimension. I mean, we're three-dimensional human beings. And that makes perfect sense that there could be, a next density being that we just can't physically see. We experience things on this planet like ghosts and the paranormal activity and things like that. So that makes total sense that there could be life on like you said, Venus, Mercury, all the planets in our solar system, and that we just don't see them. But that brought me to the question about, I want to ask you about Mars and kind of what you make of the race to get to Mars. Elon Musk is racing to get to Mars. Is that just all purely just for science, or is there something else behind that?
I
That
think I
that
think it's I think it's futile. I think it's ignorant. I think it's a cover up. Looking for life on Mars. Why are you looking for life on Mars when it's already been disclosed that there is life on Mars, not on the physical realm? And why isn't science, why are the governments of the world not taking care of the planet? What about the pollution problem? What about the homeless? What about the people starving? How about we take care of ourselves first before we delve into space? Why sit on a deserted desert, a red deserted desert, for what? I think it's totally futile. And Dr. King mentioned that he said one of the most incredible, the most sophisticated spacecraft that's ever been developed is our astral body. And he said if we go within and raise our consciousness, we can project from our body, and we can visit Mars and Venus, and like he did, and Saturn and Jupiter, without using any spacecraft, any without breaking the holes in the ionosphere, causing damage with these rockets. And so, he said, why go outwards when you can go within and find all that truth by projecting directly, with these astral bodies, with our natural bodies that we have. So we're kind of going the wrong way. Instead of going to outer space, we need to go to inner space and raise ourselves, and then from there we can project and go to outer space.
I love that. I've heard of astral projection before. Where it's literally an out of body experience that you can go pretty much anywhere you want to go. You know, how do you?
We do that every time we go to sleep. Part of our consciousness actually projects to different realms, but we're just not aware of it. So a
Is that what
yogi might,
dreams are? Then is that
yeah,
is
we
okay?
project to we project to different realms at night. Some not too bad, not too nice realms. Depends on our vibration, but yeah, that's what we do in our sleep. But positive astral projection is where you can consciously project and come back and know completely exactly what you did, where you went. And that's what we need to be doing, instead of
For sure.
going out into space. And you can, with the astral body, you can project to to Venus in a blink of an eye,
That's
because
fascinating.
it's been said that the speed of thought in the human body is about 600 miles an hour, but the speed of thought which we use with our astral body has been calculated to be 4 million times faster than the speed of light. So
Crazy.
That's how these yogi masters travel. And with the flying saucers that they use, Dr. King says they have an organic kind of metal that's susceptible to thought. And so when they're in their flying saucers, they actually tune in to the propulsion system with their thought. So they control these crystals that are on these spacecraft. So on the BBC, they asked him, how long does it take a spacecraft to travel, a UFO to travel from Venus to Earth? And he said if they were pushed, maybe 2.5 seconds.
Wow. Wow. That's nuts. That is nuts. So, is that something that only they could do, or is that something that we can do if we achieve, you know, uh
Well, the thing is, Kenny, at one time, when we were on Maldek and Lemuria and Atlantis, we were very advanced beings, and we could project. We had spacecraft. We had our own spacecraft that could go to the other planets, and so we were at one time, but we've regressed so much. We've lost. First of all, we've lost sight of our psychic abilities. We've lost sight of astral projection. We lost sight of many of the advanced scientific developments that we had on these higher civilizations. So we've regressed. And so what the cosmic masters are saying in these days of change, the great change that's occurring on planet Earth, is they're asking us to raise our vibrations and join them, because at one time we had connection with the cosmic masters directly. Dr. King said we had direct contact with the beings on Mars and Venus that inhabit the higher planes of existence. So, so it's time for us to raise and go back to what we were, because at one time we were very advanced.
you speak of you say regressed, and this might sound a little crazy, but you know, I think that was done, because in the Bible, you talk about Garden of Eden and the snake in the garden, and I personally believe, there's extraterrestrials that are, not our friends. Everybody, here has heard the word reptilians, but I feel like they've been given permission over this realm to kind of keep us trapped here, and they suppress our psychic powers, our inner strength, and lie, and made us believe that our truth is a lie. We see, manipulation with the air, the water, the food, everything. I mean, all these things, are suppressing our true abilities, I believe, which brings me to the question. You talked about reincarnation a little bit. How does that tie in with, the age of Aquarius and um, elevating our souls, I guess? How does that tie in with that? And does that come to an end, because we see negative karmic cycles that are easy to get trapped into? And could you talk about that a little bit? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's really interesting that recently Christian scholars have come up, and based on their research, they're saying that actually that reincarnation was actually taught in the Christian religion hundreds of years ago, and they actually stopped teaching reincarnation and brought this one life rubbish, so that they could control the masses. And so, what the cosmic masters are saying, that reincarnation, first of all, is a fact, and your listeners can do their research on reincarnation. It's not a theory. Um, the reason why they want to push reincarnation is that, first of all, people will think twice if they went to war thinking that they're going to kill either their brother or sister or mother, or you know a father from a last previous life. And so they want to let mankind know that we're all one race, and we come in different religions, different bodies, different races, in order to learn certain experiences. But it will diminish this aspect of racial prejudice. You won't be proud to be born in this race, because you're part of all races, that you're only in this race for one particular life. And if you're a black man, you could come back as a white man in another life. If you were Japanese, you could come back as an African in another life. And so reincarnation also explains the inequality. I mean, people talk about, well, if there was a loving God, why this inequality? Well, the inequality has been created by us. It's not by God. So, why is it that somebody's born blind or deformed or crippled? Why is it somebody can play the piano when they're 3 or have an IQ of a professor when they're 12? I mean, these are just brought experiences brought from previous lives. So if the law of karma, as you said, is opposite and equal and balanced, then we deserve everything that the position that we're in is exactly what we deserve. And so it's, not only on Maldek, but the last 18 million years, we've been on and off this planet, reincarnating, going to different other, our, higher or lower realms when we die, learning experience from there and coming back. And what Dr. King said is, we're not here to suffer. All this suffering has been created by us. And he says the only reason we're here is actually to raise our vibrations to the point where we learn all the lessons that we need to learn by living on planet Earth, and then from there we ascend and go to different higher realms of existence where maybe the cosmic masters live. And so this evolutionary cycle is actually explained very well in his book, The Nine Freedoms, and it goes beyond nirvana and cosmic consciousness. So that's the main aspect of why reincarnation needs to come back, because this division right now we have between the races and religion, it's all ignorance. It's all based on ignorance. And if people realize that how can they be proud under one flag when they know that they may be under another flag in the next life? So 60, 70 years on this one physical plane is just a tiny aspect of our whole existence.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's you hit the nail on the head with that one for sure. Um, and speaking of reincarnation, I listened to a video, I think it was yesterday. This lady, she recorded a conversation with her 6-year-old son, and it blew my mind, because he was talking about third eye mantras, and he was saying, if we could all awaken our third eye, and if there was, an instrument that had this mantra that would awaken our third eye, we could create an energy field around the earth. And he's just going on and on and on. I'm just like, holy smokes, and that definitely came from somewhere. Like, no normal 6-year-old just starts talking about, third eye energy and all that. So that's just mind-blowing to me. I love it. I absolutely
Yeah,
love it.
a lot of children. I know as a child, I had recollection of a past life, and when you're very young, you have, and then we move on. And in mercy, in a way, it's good not to know our past lives, because I won't want to know that I was a mass murderer in a past life or something like that. I can live with
Right.
it. I have enough on my plate on this life. So eventually, when you advance, when you reach high states of cosmic consciousness, you will remember your past lives. But right now, it's better just to focus on this one life. And you're right. There's so many examples that people can research on reincarnation.
Right.
There's thousands of examples that just pretty much prove 100% that reincarnation is real, and it will dispel all this ignorance of, like you said, the cosmic masters, they address us as terrestrial mans. They don't say you Americans or you Chinese or Africans. They call us terrestrial man. And till we get to that realization that we are one race, just experiencing different cycles, till we get to that point, we're just going to continue this madness that's occurring right now.
I totally agree. And it seems like, from my perspective, that especially like 2020, the tactics for divide and conquer are just like
Terrible,
turned
terrible.
way up. I mean, everything that came on the news, everything you heard about was a divide and conquer tactic. And it might have worked to some certain extent, but I think a lot of people are seeing through those tactics,
Yes.
you know, and I think there is that awakening going on. It feels like we're reaching that bottleneck, and I'm feeling good about this year. I don't know about you, but this year's feeling good. And the age of Aquarius, like you said, every year unleashes a little bit more. So what do you think is ahead for us in the next, couple years? Is it just going to keep getting stronger and stronger and like until it's unstoppable, the awakening, or is it going to be a lot slower process? Is it
I would look at it more within the next 1,000 years. I don't think the next couple of years are going to see any major significant change. I think things may get worse before they get better. Now, again, why this urgency for man to rise at this time? Again, there's another factor that hasn't been explained. Um, and, I talked about the raising of the vibrations of the Mother Earth. Um, that has got nothing, carbon emissions and pollution is just a small aspect of that. It was predicted by the cosmic beings that the climate would change, that the ice caps would melt, because part of this raising of the vibration is that the ionosphere, which was put up after the destruction of Lemurian Atlantis, it tended to cut man off from inspiration. That's gradually been taken down. So the ultraviolet rays coming through now are actually raising the temperature of Mother Earth, which is actually beneficial for her. But the ice caps are melting. There will be flooding to certain countries, and so this climate change again has not been addressed by the mainstream media as a rise of consciousness of the Mother Earth. And so, of course, pollution is disgusting as it is. But if the masses were told again, the indigenous tribes like the American Indians, the Aborigines, the African indigenous tribes, South American indigenous, they know that this planet is a real being. And so again, if people on this earth realize that we live on this most sacred holy being, they would think twice about raping her for the resources that we have done for millions of years, and also polluting her. I think it's a cosmic crime that we're committing when we're polluting this beautiful planet that sustains us with life. And so why this urgency? Okay, um, the cosmic masters have said that if mankind does not raise his vibrations in collaboration with the Mother Earth, he will after death be reborn on another planet. This planet it's called Planet X by the scientists. They know it's there. It's on the other side of the solar system from the Earth, so we can't see it, but they know it's there based on their calculations with the pull of Uranus and Neptune. That there is a planet. They've estimated it to be about 10 times the size of Earth. And the cosmic masters have said that those who don't raise their vibrations in mercy, because they won't be able to handle these spiritual vibrations in the coming new age, will be taken through death and start the reincarnation cycle on this planet. So, like I said, this is the end of the beginning of the beginning of the end of mankind as we know it in a very positive sense. So
for those
now
that are
again,
willing to raise their vibration and see the truth, and the truth is that is that's a topic that like what is truth, um but I want to take a step back. You talk about Atlantis and the global warming and the melting of the ice caps. I believe that Atlantis is under Antarctica. That's a firm belief of mine that that's where it's at. Do you follow that same belief? And do you think that with the ice caps melting, that there's secrets that will be revealed that the elite group doesn't want us to know about?
I haven't done research on Atlantis. My understanding was it went under the Atlantic Ocean, but I don't know. But there's already proof of advanced civilizations based on, again, people people finding like transistors, capacitors in rocks that are hundreds of thousands of years old.
Sure.
So where did those come from? So there's still plenty of evidence of advanced life around the world. With an axis flip, everything goes underwater or it goes upside down. So, um, you know, regardless, I mean, things are hidden, but there's plenty of evidence that we did belong to a higher civilization, and there's a lot of things you can research that proves that we had highly advanced technology at one time.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more. We're about an hour here. Is there anything that you would like to add in or throw into the episode that you want to tie in with?
Well, you know, I think not only is the conditions on this planet with the endless wars. I also believe there's an invisible war going on right now between the forces of darkness and the forces of light. The beings that are in these lower astral realms, these demonic beings. I think they're. You talk about the reptile people or the abductions and all that. I think it's more the demonic beings on these lower astral realms that are creating that, not so much the cosmic masters. And Dr. King mentioned in the early 70s, he said that there's only one energy crisis on this planet, and that's a spiritual energy crisis. He says, if you solve this crisis, then all of the crises in your personal life or even between countries will automatically be resolved. So that's the crisis right now. We need to start sending out the light to help transmute, uplift, and heal the mind belt. We talk about pollution. What about the pollution of hatred and jealousy and greed that's polluting the mind belt of this earth? So we en masse need to raise and send out the light. If people don't know how to send this spiritual energy, which is real, all they have to do is you can just go in front of the mirror, raise your hands, and send a white light from the psychic senses, and from the heart center, and the energy will be reflected, and you can feel a tingling around the aura, around the
Really?
fingers. So yeah, it's just the same as electricity, but on a higher frequency level. It's just as real. And so I belong to a group of people. We send out this energy. We do it freely every day online. So if people don't know how to send out the light, they can go to the website 12blessings.org, that 12 being a numerical number, 12blessings.org, and tune in with people from 50 plus countries, and we try to send that energy out. And
I love.
that's what we're asked to do. The cosmic masters are still around here. They're beaming these energies down to us. We just have to think of it, and they just basically want us to rise and be part of this new age that's been prophesized. And Dr. King in deep meditation saw this new age, where in the years to come, within the next 1,000 years, there's going to be no wars, no economic system, no countries, and we will be living in peace and harmony. It's not a case of might; it is coming to this planet, and it's up to us, every one of us, to be part of it, or go to the other planet and relive the horrors of our bloody history. So that's really the essence of my message today.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, man. It was an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you on today. And and so people can find your book on Amazon. Um, I have 12blessings.org. Are there any other links that you would like the audience to know about? Or
They can go to aetherius.org,
okay,
AETHERIUS. If they want to contact me, I have a personal email. It's called Wajid for the number 4 GK at gmail.com. Wajid 4 GK at gmail.com. So they can contact me personally if they have more questions.
excellent. All right. All right. Hey, well, thank you very much again for coming on the show. This is Conversations with Kenny.